Nelson Mandela, the man who redefined freedom. In the southernmost tip of Africa, where the oceans meet and winds carry the memory of centuries, a child was born who would one day stand at the crossroads of history. His name was Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. To the oppressed, he became hope. To the divided, he became unity. To the powerful, he became conscience. And to the world, he became a symbol of moral courage unlike any other in the 20th century. But legends are not born in comfort. They are forged in struggle. This is not merely the story of a president. It is the story of resistance. It is the story of sacrifice. It is the story of how one man endured 27 years of imprisonment and emerged not with vengeance, but with forgiveness. This is the long walk to freedom. A child of Tembu royalty, 1918 to 1934. Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in the village of Mveso in South Africa's Eastern Cape Province. His birth name, Rolihlahla, in the Xhosa language, means pulling the branch of a tree, a subtle metaphor for someone who stirs trouble. Few could have predicted how prophetic that name would become. Mandela belonged to the Tembu royal family. His father, Gadla Henry Mpakanyiswa, was a local chief and counselor to the Tembu king. Though the family lived modestly, they carried dignity, pride, and a strong sense of African identity. From a young age, Mandela listened to tribal elders speak of resistance against colonial rule. Stories of African warriors and leaders shaped his imagination. At the age of 7, he attended a Methodist school, the first in his family to do so. His teacher gave him the English name Nelson, a common colonial practice. This moment symbolized the duality that would define his life: African heritage and Western influence. When Mandela was 9, his father died. He was taken under the guardianship of Chief Jonjintaba Dalinyebo, the acting regent of the Tembu people. Here, Mandela observed leadership closely. He attended royal meetings where decisions were made through discussion and consensus, not domination. Democracy, in its earliest form, planted itself in his mind. Education and Awakening, 1934 to 1941. Mandela attended the prestigious Clarkbury boarding school and later Healdtown, a Wesleyan college. Eventually, he enrolled at the University College of Fort Hare, the only university for black Africans at the time. Fort Hare was a breeding ground for African intellectual thought. Students debated politics, colonialism, and self-determination. Here, Mandela's political consciousness began to awaken. In 1940, he joined a student protest against university policies. For this act of defiance, he was expelled. Faced with the prospect of an arranged marriage back home, Mandela fled to Johannesburg in 1941. He arrived in the city, poor, uncertain, but determined. Johannesburg would change him forever. Johannesburg, the harsh reality of apartheid. Johannesburg was South Africa's economic engine, but also the epicenter of racial injustice. The system of apartheid was tightening its grip. Apartheid, meaning apartness, legally separated white and non-white citizens. Black South Africans were denied basic rights. No voting rights, forced removals from homes, separate and inferior education, pass laws restricting movement, systematic discrimination in employment. Mandela worked as a security guard and later as a law clerk while studying law at the University of Witwatersrand.
It was here he met individuals who would shape his future: Walter Sisulu and Oliver Tambo. Through them, Mandela joined the African National Congress. In 1944, he co-founded the African Youth League, advocating for mass resistance against white minority rule. Mandela transformed from observer to activist. The Rise of Resistance, 1944 to 1960. The ANC Youth League pushed for bold action. Under Mandela's leadership, the Defiance Campaign of 1952 mobilized thousands to deliberately break unjust laws. Mandela was arrested and banned from attending meetings, but repression only strengthened his resolve. In 1955, the Freedom Charter was adopted, a powerful document declaring South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white. The government responded with mass arrests. Mandela and 156 others were charged with treason in 1956. The treason trial lasted 4 years. They were eventually acquitted, but the message was clear. The government saw Mandela as a threat.
Sharpeville, the turning point, 1960. On March 21, 1960, police opened fire on peaceful protesters in Sharpeville. 69 people were killed. The massacre shocked the world. The ANC was banned. Mandela realized that peaceful protest alone would not dismantle apartheid. Reluctantly, he helped establish Umkhonto we Sizwe, Spear of the Nation, the armed wing of the ANC. Their strategy was sabotage against infrastructure, not civilians. Mandela went underground. The press called him the Black Pimpernel. But in 1962, he was captured. The Rivonia Trial, 1963 to 1964. Mandela and fellow activists were charged with sabotage and conspiracy to overthrow the government. Facing the death penalty, Mandela delivered one of the most powerful speeches in modern history. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. The courtroom fell silent. Instead of execution, Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment. He was 46 years old. His journey into darkness had begun. Robben Island, 27 years of imprisonment. Mandela was assigned prisoner number 46664. His cell measured just 8 by 7 feet. He slept on a thin mat on the floor. He worked in a limestone quarry under the scorching sun. Letters were censored. Visits were rare. But prison became a university. Mandela studied law. He mentored younger inmates. He learned Afrikaans to understand his oppressors. He refused to be broken. Over time, guards began to respect him. Outside prison, global movements demanded his release. Free Nelson Mandela became an international anthem. Sanctions mounted. Pressure grew. Mandela became the world's most famous prisoner. Negotiating freedom, 1985 to 1990. In the 1980s, South Africa was on the brink of civil war. The apartheid regime secretly initiated talks with Mandela. He insisted on one condition: freedom for all political prisoners and legalization of the ANC. On February 11, 1990, Mandela walked free. Millions watched live. He raised his fist, not in anger, but in determination. He called for peace. The birth of a new South Africa, 1990 to 1994. Negotiations between Mandela and President F.W. de Klerk were tense. Violence erupted between political factions, yet Mandela remained calm. In 1993, both leaders were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. In April 1994, South Africa held its first democratic election. For the first time,
black citizens voted. On May 10, 1994, Nelson Mandela became President of South Africa. The world witnessed history. President of Reconciliation, 1994 to 1999. Mandela prioritized unity. He formed a government of national unity. He supported the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, led by Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Victims confronted perpetrators. Truth replaced revenge. One defining moment came in 1995 during the Rugby World Cup. Mandela wore the Springbok jersey, a former symbol of white supremacy. He united the nation through sport. South Africa won. The stadium erupted. Healing had begun. Global icon and final years. Mandela stepped down after one term, an extraordinary act in African politics. He championed HIV/AIDS awareness. He advocated for peace in global conflicts. He became a moral compass for humanity. On December 5, 2013, Mandela passed away at age 95. World leaders gathered to honor him. But his greatest monument was not a statue. It was a transformed nation. The eternal legacy. Mandela once said, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it." He endured 27 years in prison. He emerged without hatred. He chose reconciliation over revenge. He proved that leadership is not about power, but about purpose. His walk was long, but it led millions toward freedom. And today, his story continues to remind us, even in the darkest prison cell, hope can survive. And one human being, armed with courage, conviction, and compassion, can change the course of history.